Let's talk some quarterbacks and tight ends, the onesie position. And as always, we treat this episode almost like a game preview, game matchup standpoint. We talk some defensive players, some offensive line injuries, and even some, coaching narratives, because we love walking down that street, Hayden. And the narrative right now from you is who can beat the Chiefs? Who's better than us? Nobody right now. And the Chiefs get the Washington Commanders, and Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback one in the week.
Also say it for your opener, because this is the Saturday episode, start letting some more aggressive takes fly, just kind of shoot from the hip a little bit more, because fewer views, it means we can kind of ramp up the aggressiveness on the takes. So this one's not even aggressive. Patrick Mahomes has been the fantasy quarterback one, and they're projected for the second most points. He's been running like a madman, and he passed the ball like crazy. And Dorrance Armstrong, Drake Jackson, Jean Baptiste, Deatrick Wise, all these guys. They're not good, and they're not on the field.
Right. And I'll list the guys that are on the field. Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu trying to stop Patrick Mahomes from running around. And what he does so well at this point is if he's facing zone, which is, quite a bit, he manipulates the coverage based on, I'm going to act like I'm scrambling, or I'm going to get up and kind of strafe the line of scrimmage. And that pulls a safety or a linebacker out of that window or out of that section, and then he just throws around them or into that spot.
Yep.
And then it's like, how'd he get wide ass open? Well, the quarterback is literally pulling defenders on strings.
Yep. It's going to be the scary part is because the last couple of years he had to learn how to beat zone coverage and take all the underneath stuff. And now that they have the downfield guys and you can win with both, he's kind of like did a little internship on just how to manipulate that zone stuff for the last couple of years. So he's going to be, Patrick Mahomes might be pretty good moving forward is my take.
Well, we need Lamar Jackson to be good moving forward, because this team has won one game so far this season, has had a few get out from underneath them. This is the rest of their season. It is this game against the Chicago Bears. And the betting markets are easily favoring the Ravens here. They are 6.5 point favorites with a team total of 27.75. That is a lot of expectations for a third of this team basically coming back from injury. My question is, what if it just doesn't look good? Or what if, Hayden, it's just a bad bounce of the ball, it goes off of Mark Andrews' hands and it gets intercepted by someone else, and you get a pick six and you lose the game based on a singular snap, which in the NFL, it's kind of common to do that.
Well, especially for Ravens games. I was going to take the other side of this. What if the expectations are too low and people are putting too much emphasis on what's happened the last month, when the reality is Ronnie Stanley's back and fully practicing, Lamar Jackson's back fully practicing. They had plenty of time to get right. The entire offense is healthy, and we had Super Bowl aspirations for this team. And when Lamar Jackson has had all of these guys and Derrick Henry all healthy, he's been the MVP and the leader in EPA, and the team goes absolutely crazy. And the Bears right now are fourth worst against fantasy quarterbacks. Jalen Johnson, their top corner's on injured reserve. Tyreek Stevenson, their second corner, he hasn't practiced. Kyler Gordon's been limited in practice. So my question is, could this be the team that goes absolutely crazy? And we've kind of sometimes what the Lions do when they're projected for a lot of points, but they're still underrated. I can see that being the case now that you have Stanley, Lamar Jackson, plus his entire personnel grouping, including Isaiah Likely, all back and ready to go.
Yeah, and the Bears defense has struggled this season if they aren't creating turnovers. And they've been creating turnovers ever since that game against Geno Smith. Mm-hmm. They've also allowed multiple touchdowns to 5 of the 6 quarterbacks they face this season. So I'm totally with you on Lamar Jackson being the quarterback 2 this week. That brings us to Josh Allen at Carolina, against Carolina. Is it at Carolina?
I think it's in Carolina.
Yeah, it's at Carolina. You're right. As the quarterback 3. How are the Bills going to respond out of the bye is the big question here. Are they going to be more run heavy? Are they going to put more of the responsibility on Josh Allen with this mid at best passing group that he has?
No Josh Palmer in this one. We'll see about Dalton Kincaid. So maybe a little bit worse in terms of the skill group, but I'm frustrated with the Bills, kind of like how I've been frustrated with the Chiefs the last couple of years, where they have this alien quarterback who is still flashing and still been fantastic, but you're seeing fewer of the downfield concepts that they're capable of playing with. It's probably just a personnel issue, but I would still trust Josh Allen to fire the ball over the middle and down the field, and we just have not seen that. So the last month, and it's been a weird month for them, they're 31st in neutral pass rate, and they still also don't get James Cook involved. So it's who are they getting the ball to? It's been just a weird offense recently. And even with all that, he's been the fantasy quarterback 3 per game. So you can't overreact to this, but I think it's fair to be a little bit frustrated with the Bills offense, even though it's still really good, just because there's this extra gear that they can hit and they have in the past. We're just not seeing it recently.
When pressured this season, he's like 19th in completion rate, 20th in yards per pass attempt, 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. At the same time, this Panthers defensive line has been really good against the run, but unless you face Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor, they haven't been able to pressure the quarterback. And this is a really good Bills offensive line. So I think we could see numerous Josh Allen 5-6 second time to throw dropbacks in this game.
Yikes. Yeah, these 3 quarterbacks are projected, according to the Underdog Pick'em lobby, for at least 22 fantasy points. Everybody else, it's 21 or 2019. So these are like the 3 elite ones.
And if you've never played on Underdog before, again, now we're in 41 of 50 states. So states like California, Texas in the past, you could not play. Now you can. It's really that simple. Click the link in the description down below or use promo code the show. If you play $5 the first time, we'll give you $100 of bonus cash. You can do that by playing drafts like Battle Royales. Other games out there too.
Team picks.
And,
spreads.
Game picks, prediction markets, all that good jazz. So if you want to do something, you can do it on Underdog. There's a new slogan. Next,
Wow.
Jalen Hurts is your quarterback for. This is against the New York Giants. Big question. Can we get another 4 dropbacks understanding here from Jalen Hurts when last time it equaled, like 118 yards and big downfield passes?
Especially on those plays, the Giants might not have Javon Holland and a top corner because they have not been practicing much. So they're not going to have Cam Jurgens in this one. Most likely he has not practiced with a knee injury. That said, it still funnels around Jalen Hurts in terms of the tush pushes and the downfield shots. But it would be pretty insulting to see or have everyone say, do under center play action, marry the ground game to the pass game. You do it, it works, you win a huge game, and then to be like, nope, that's over. So we'll see. This would be like a pretty big litmus test for my faith in the offensive coordinator. It's too hard to ignore how you should, call the game.
Totally. And like you said, no Javon Holland, no Paulson Adebo here. Last time they played the Giants again, just a couple weeks ago on TNF, the Giants actually played man coverage on 33% of Jalen Hurts' dropbacks, which is the highest rate he's seen in a game so far this season. So again, you just wonder if they do the exact same thing and if Kevin Patullo has the counters off of that, which he had some open men, down the field last time, but he just had no answer versus pressure, no answer once his primary was taken away. And then his hot looks, just zero clue. So if we have seen him, kind of turn the corner versus that stuff a couple weeks ago, it's going to get defined in this game. And I'm excited for it.
And that 31% man coverage rate that you reference, I know that the Giants on the season is higher than that. So they kind of slowed down their man coverage reps, but typically this is a man coverage based team, which is, I think, good news for Jalen Hurts. It's kind of easier just to be like, hey, there's Devontae Smith running with a corner that has no business running with him. Let's throw the ball there.
Okay. Big Bo Nix is here as quarterback 5. He certainly hasn't played like quarterback 5 all season long, but he certainly hasn't played against the Dallas Cowboys defense. He has to get there in this matchup. He has to.
Yeah. They're 4th in projected points this week at 27. They're at home. They're projected for more than the Buffalo Bills, and this one more than the Philadelphia Eagles. Bo Nix has scrambled at times. It kind of goes hit and miss there. But, I mean, it's the Dallas Cowboys. They can't stop anybody. That's been the case the entire year. No Trayvon Diggs, and this one with a concussion. We'll see about a safety on top of that. They can't rush the passer. So there's really no excuses here. And then if we really want to dig into it, if you remove every game Bo Nix has played in September, both
seasons. You just meant remove every game that Bo Nix has played. I thought you were going to stop there, except for the fourth quarter.
This is a fantasy football show, so for the fantasy points, they get really good in October and November. They're less good in September. But if you remove all those games, Bo Nix is an elite fantasy quarterback. You just have to remove, 33% of the sample.
If you remove every show that I do from November and December, I would be pretty happy.
Well, there's no one stopping you.
So I think from now on, what we have learned is let's do Bo Nix and just sit him in the first 4 weeks of the NFL season, and then he's one of the better quarterbacks. And then if I just take an early winter vacation in November and December, maybe this show does better too.
Well, we'll see about that.
Just to go through this, Bo Nix, quarterback 27, 11, 19, 5, 15, 21. And then obviously he was the quarterback 1 last week against the Giants, but we know that 33 of the 33 points that they scored were in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So now it's tough to do that. There's some skill to put up 33 in a quarter, but a roller coaster ride.
Daniel Jones is up next as the quarterback 6. One of the most consistent quarterbacks in the league right now. It is totally in sync. The rhythm, the flow on every single series is really what we search for when we go back and watch all these teams on Monday and Tuesday. And he just looks so comfortable back there and just knows where the answers are pre-snap and post-snap. It's just an easy flow to the system.
It's like not even like drive by drive. It's like every single play is a version of one of the plays they ran like the previous drive, and it's just a counter off it. It's I think the most fun offense to watch. And if you're like had to steal a playbook for your high school offense, you would be stealing Shane Steichen's right now. So on top of that, Arden Key he's barely practiced an edge rusher. Jeffrey Simmons, their best player, like a true defensive player of the year candidate. Who can chase down everybody and is stronger than everybody else on the field. He has not practiced. And then L'Jarius Sneed, their top corner, who has not been good, but he's on injured reserve at this point.
Long time. I mean, basically lifers of this channel or my content. Remember the days back when I used to live in Connecticut? I would do live periscopes while cooking and answering your questions. You know me. I love a good steak. And I absolutely loved when we got this house that had an extra refrigerator and freezer downstairs. My brain instantly went to, I can keep a whole bunch of steaks, burgers, pork tenderloins, all that stuff in this freezer, in this refrigerator. And guess what? Omaha Steaks freaking hooked me up. I can't wait to have some compound butter with some shallots, some parsley, some lemon zest in there as well, some unsalted butter. You whisk it up when it gets room temperature and boom, put in the freezer and fridge. And then when you perfectly make your steak medium, that's me on my New York strip, and then put a little dollop on top, let it drizzle out. Once it's perfectly done on that sear, we got it covered. And Omaha Steaks, bang, beef tenderloin, nailed it. And if you want some dessert at the same time, we got some frozen caramel apple tartlets on top. Omaha Steaks is the perfect place to hook you up. So save big with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide. 50% off site-wide with an extra 20% off select favorites during their early Black Friday sale. Go and fill up your freezer. Go and fill up your refrigerator. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code THESHOW at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's, again, 50% off at omahasteaks.com. Promo code THESHOW at checkout. Baker Mayfield, quarterback 7 on the week. This is at the New Orleans Saints. I believe last week he did not have a single positive scramble, which is very different than Baker Mayfield, on top of, when the chaotic moments do happen, when his head gets cut off and he runs around like a madman. A lot of times that has ended up in positive plays. It definitely did not happen versus pressure last week. But the thing is, he should not be pressured very often against this New Orleans Saints pass rushing unit.
I saw a quote from him after the last week's game where he said that the lane integrity was a big reason why the Lions had a lot of success, and he was unable to scramble because everybody was like staying committed to their actual role. We'll see if the Saints can do that. Chase Young has been playing recently, has been playing through that injury, has not been the same player. And in general, I think that the Buccaneers offense is going to move the ball a ton. And then I think that the scramble stuff will tick back up here. Tez Johnson, like these guys have like flash. Like when Cade Otton gets receptions, he's pretty reliable there. So even though they're missing like the two of their highest paid players, the depth in Tampa Bay is just pretty incredible. Like even the guys that you've never even heard of, you start watching them, you're like, hey, that's like a real player there.
It's so different than, and obviously the quarterback's different too, but like what Darren Muji's doing in the Jets, where you have Garrett Wilson, but then after that we're just going to go into the season with
Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds and Arian Smith and all these other randos. Like wide receiver from a college to NFL standpoint should probably be the deepest position out there in the NFL. And so at least have, like the Bucs are doing, functional players that are your wide receiver 5, your wide receiver 6, whatever. And Jason Light has done a tremendous job with that in the Bucs here.
Yeah, he really has. So Baker Mayfield's up at 19.8 expected points in the underdog pick'em lobby. So a must start.
Drake Maye is up next. It's against the Cleveland Browns. A really, really fun offense versus defense showdown here. Only 2 quarterbacks have reached 15 fantasy points versus this Browns defense so far this season. And as for Drake Maye, he's scored a whole bunch of fantasy points. I think in every game but one, he has gone over those 15 fantasy points, including outings of 20, 23, 26, 27, and another 20 on top of it. So Drake Maye, very good at playing football.
He is. And then I think on top, he's just a great fantasy asset the way he plays, because he's very aggressive and throwing a bunch of catchable passes down the field, and most of them to Kayshon Boutte, who's been he kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, the downfield catch rate right now. And then doesn't scramble a ton, but he's really effective when he does take off, and that's exactly how he played at North Carolina. So I think it's just one of these games where they cannot run the ball. The offensive line is just not strong enough. Ramondre and Travion have had their own issues. And I just don't think you're going to be able to run the ball on Malik Collins and Myles Garrett and these guys. So I think that the most effective way is just drop back and then hope that, Myles Garrett doesn't baptize your left tackle.
And that's a big part of it, right? This Patriots offensive line, which has really been put together in one offseason, has done really well, especially in comparison to their run blocking. But this will be a huge test for them. You have Malik Collins on the interior, you have Mason Graham on the interior, and then certainly you have Myles Garrett on one side. And Drake Maye has gotten the ball, according to Rich Rebar, out within 2.5 seconds on only 38% of his passes so far this season. Dropbacks entirely. That's 32nd in the NFL. So we're going to see a whole bunch of him moving around and these really good defensive linemen chasing him.
Dang. Yeah. I'm excited to watch not the game, but that side of the ball.
Yeah. Next up, Dak Prescott. Ever since week 1, that game against the Philadelphia Eagles when they were at full strength, Dak has gone quarterback 5, 17, 1, 3, 6, 9. Now, this is Denver, but as we just saw last week, they can have some big chunk passing games against them. And Dak Prescott's going to have both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I like Dak here as a top 10 quarterback for sure.
Yeah, he just kind of cemented himself where they dropped back enough, and he's been so efficient that you at least need to trust him to some degree. He's kind of a high floor play, no matter what. Now, in Denver, if you're chalking it up, that to me is the most difficult matchup. Besides, maybe in Cleveland in November and December, where there's also crazy weather too. But yeah, this is not an easy task. You do have your offensive lines mostly all the way back now after missing 4 out of 5 starters at one point. Get CeeDee Lamb, who I thought was moving pretty well as well. So they have more answers to the test this year now that they have 2 wide receivers that they can trust, and then Jake Ferguson to work over the middle. So they can find the weak spots, which I think is more at linebacker right now. But you have CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson to kind of take advantage of any mismatch. And then also just shout out the coaching staff once again. They're just dialed in, they can pass and run the ball. And I think they're really good on a week to week basis as well. And it's just a credit to Shoddy.
And, we saw Daniel Bellinger wide open down the field last week. We saw the fluke play to Theo Johnson as well, but we also saw Jalen Hyatt nearly come down, splitting a corner into safety with a deep pass last week. The Cowboys have 16 plays of 30 or more yards on offense this year, which is the most in the NFL. Wow. So we'll see if that continues. Caleb Williams. I think there's a cliff here for me, Hayden.
Yeah.
Between Dak and Caleb, even if he's your quarterback 10, and that means a must start in your leagues, even if we, eliminate Justin Herbert and such from Thursday Night Football. This is at the Baltimore Ravens. Negative game script is projected here, meaning he will likely have to pass the football a lot more than he has over these last 2 weeks. We've talked about in Stats versus Film how motion has helped this team in the rushing department. It's actually hurt him in the passing department. So I'll be intrigued to see if he can match now, after kind of carrying this offense in the opening 4-ish games of the season, if he can now match this rushing attack too.
And I think just a lot of eyeballs deserve to go to the Ravens defense too, because they've been dealing with so many injuries. They're now mostly all back. So I think we need to largely throw out what's happened to Baltimore for the first 6-7 weeks of the season. And I think they're going to be more middle of the road from this point forward. Now, I think the big thing is just the amount of dropbacks were expected here versus in the 2 previous games where they've been very run heavy. And when Caleb Williams is forced to the drop back, you're also getting all the scrambles. So in recent games, has not had to scramble as much, but in a game where they could be losing by projected 7 points, that's where you just get a lot more of the out of structure play, which it can be hit and miss for Caleb Williams, but just more dropbacks is good for Caleb in general, just because he has a knack for scrambling. So I think this could be a situation where he kind of backdoors himself into maybe like a high-end quarterback 2 finish.
Joe Flacco is next for you. Yes, he's your quarterback 11. We talked about it as soon as he took over as a starter here for this Bengals offense, that he'll probably lead the NFL in quickest time to throw. That has been the case. His 2 starts this season, 2.27 seconds and 2.45 seconds.
That's like the Tua offense when he had Tyreek and Waddle just running down the field by everybody. So, yeah, honestly, if you're looking at the pick'em lobby, he's projected for more points than Dak Prescott and Caleb Williams. So I'm like under ranking Joe Flacco versus the projections. Now it's like almost identical. But if you look at the implied points for the team, the Bengals are at 25.5. That's higher or the same as, Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts that we've talked about. It's higher than Dak Prescott and Drake Maye and Caleb Williams. So this is, I think, a good spot for him. Especially like you guys play in some like 6 points per touchdown leagues, which I think that should be the consensus for fantasy football, and we should make fantasy quarterbacks a little bit more valuable. I think he's a low end quarterback 1 in those leagues.
Well, he's ranked ahead of Jordan Love. Jordan Love here at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just one single top 10 scoring week so far this season for Jordan Love at this point. Yep. And in, medium or slowish pace games, the Packers, like I talked about in the wide receiver show, kind of play into that. And that means the game flow, and especially inside the red zone, goes directly to Josh Jacobs. Now, can they get pushed and can they throw the football and like put the pedal to the floor? In certain games, yes, but I also think that's not going to happen here against the Pittsburgh Steelers and how they operate at the same time.
Super slow paced game, and it's going to be pretty balanced on both sides of the ball. Even last year and the year before that, when Jordan Love was all of a sudden like top 5 in EPA per dropback, he was never really a fantasy quarterback because he almost never runs. He's almost never utilized at the goal line, and then his dropbacks per game are always really low. So you need to kind of pick the game he's going to have 300 pass yards and 3 touchdowns and like connect on his downfield passes. And those have been just a little bit more hit and miss this year than in previous iterations. So I think he's capable of putting it all together here, but we have to kind of pick our battles because he's been a fantasy quarterback too for many years in a row. Now, Pittsburgh, I don't think is very impressive on defense. And the Packers offensive line is now mostly healthy after being really injured early on. So this could be like a little breaking point where, and Jordan Love's had like multiple month streaks where he's been completely on fire and then kind of just regressed. Maybe this is the turning point where the Packers offense goes nuts again through the air.
Yeah. This is from the worksheet. We always talk about quarterbacks falling off a cliff when pressured. Jordan Love is number 1 in the NFL so far with that this season. When pressured this year, Jordan Love is last with a 35% completion rate, last in yards per pass attempt at 3.6, and has not thrown a touchdown, again, when under duress.
Whoa.
When kept clean, Jordan Love has completed a league high 85% of his passes with a 10.3 yards per attempt and an 8.3 touchdown rate.
Holy smokes. What were the completion percentage? 85 to 35?
Yes.
What? That's insane.
Crazy, right? Now, again, it helps that his offensive line is getting healthier right now.
Yes. Yes.
At the same time, like, take the Joe Flacco game last week against the Steelers. He gets the football out so quickly, and TJ Watt runs the same loop over and over for his pass rushing snaps
to get there.
That it's very predictable. And so if you just get the football out, he's not going to pressure you. Whereas Jordan Love, when he sits back there and he hits his back foot and then he bounces, then that's going to give TJ Watt, to me, maybe more of an opportunity to have a bigger impact in this one versus last week.
Yeah, interesting. And also just noting the secondary, Slay, Ramsey, their safety play, it's just been slow, lethargic just in general. So you get Christian Watson, Matthew Golden going. There's a little bit of speed here. Tucker Kraft after the catch. So I think in general, more I think about this game, I do think it's a good spot for the Packers offense.
Yeah, and being favored by 3 points on the road is nothing to laugh at, I think, in 2025. Okay, Jaxson Dart is your quarterback 13. This is at the Philadelphia Eagles. So far, as a starting quarterback in the New York Giants, Jaxson Dart has been the quarterback 10, the quarterback 20, then was the quarterback 3 against these Eagles, and then the quarterback 2 against the Denver Broncos. So you're expecting kind of a middle ground between those two performances so far. I do think that this Eagles defense is going to be very different than the one he faced last time. One, they're at home, the Eagles are. And then two, you'll get Quinyon Mitchell for more than the 15 snaps he played in that game, hopefully. And then you'll also get Jalen Carter playing. And those two are easily the two best defenders other than Zach Bond on this Eagles unit.
I'm guessing they probably have a better plan just in general at the cornerback 2 spot, where the first couple of games it was so brutal. It still is pretty bad, but I bet Fangio started to figure out exactly how to hide that situation a little bit. It's a insane spot for Jaxson Dart to have success in. If you can do it in Philadelphia here, that would be incredible. So hopefully he gets Darius Slayton back, because they really need somebody to take the top off the defense, because we can see how Jaxson Dart plays. Like, that's what he wants to do. And that's what he did at Ole Miss, is like buy time or on a half field read, just throw the ball down the field. And we're starting to see that. If they actually had like some separation at wide receiver, that would go a long way. So hopefully you get Darius Slayton back.
A lot of time, rightfully, has been spent on the Cam Scadaboo, Jaxson Dart energy of it all. I want to call attention to the 2 tackles here for the Giants. Like Andrew Thomas, we always talk about the on-off splits with him, and he's been healthy and been fantastic. Yeah. But then Jermaine Illuminor is also playing very well at the right tackle spot. And so just like having these 2 bookend guys for a quarterback who, like you said, does some of his best work when out of structure, dropping his eyes, moving around, then resetting and looking up and firing down the field. You wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't have 2 really, really good tackles out there. They did a great job for 3 quarters against Nick Bonito and this Broncos pass rushing unit. And guess what? Philadelphia has been really struggling to get pressure off of the edge. They're going to have, again, a much easier and better job, hopefully doing that with Jalen Carter back on the interior. That's a strength versus, I think, a weakness now of Philadelphia.
Yeah, completely agree. I think the consensus will start being Andrew Thomas is the best tackle in football. Like, the best tackles are old. There's going to be like the new era of tackles in the league. I think that Andrew Thomas will be like the consensus top one on the left side.
He and Tristan Wirfs, I would put up there. Those 2 guys.
And
they're in the same draft class. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and then the Browns took the other one.
Yeah, Jedrick Wells. Marcus Mariota is up next. The Chiefs, 29th rushing points allowed to quarterbacks at 5.2 rushing points per game. I say that because that has to be the avenue that if the Commanders are going to have success, Marcus Mariota is going to have to use his legs in this one. This
is more like backdooring your way into quarterback 2 stuff for fantasy purposes, because the teams only project for 17.5. Spags has been doing really well. The interior line for the Commanders has not been all that great, and Chris Jones can move and pick just the best matchup. He absolutely ate the Raiders alive last week against their worst offensive lineman, and you can do the same with Washington. All that said, whenever Mariota's been a starter in this Cliff Kingsbury offense, he has been very good in fantasy. So I think I'm putting a lot of faith in those metrics, but it does make sense, like stylistically, how the offense wants to run and what Mariota is good at. It is a good pairing in general. And then having Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin both be healthy in this one does make a difference.
All right. Here's my pick 'em entry for the week. We talked about in the wide receiver episode, but Matthew Golden, higher 3.5 first quarter receiving yards. All right. Okay. And then Marcus Mariota, higher 24.5 rushing yards. It's just a little pick too. That's where we're going to play it. Again, if you've never played an underdog, now's the time to do so. Link is in the description down below for that. Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers, facing off. I would say the Packers defense, just overall versus where they were in like week 1, has taken a slight step back just in like a series in, series out. But they still have these alpha talents, and especially Micah Parsons, who can take over games in critical moments and gets you off the field. Again, Parsons was unreal against the Arizona Cardinals. And the thing is with Aaron Rodgers, he will definitely not want to get hit by any of these pass rushers. So we might set a record here for time to throw in terms of the shortest. And
the Packers got aliens at linebacker. And that's pretty important against Arthur Smith because they run all the leaks and the tight end stuff, and they run the ball, and you got to have your linebackers to either be able to read it quickly.
Like Edgerrin Cooper trailing down the seam with any of these tight ends
he could run.
Be a real part of it. Yep.
Yeah. So I think it's just a tough matchup for how the Steelers have been moving the ball versus what the Packers, their best part of their defense, which is edge rusher and linebacker and then safety play. So I think a good matchup for the Packers. It should be fun to watch this one.
Spencer Rattler, quarterback 16. Anything you want to add here against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense? I thought Spencer Rattler, we've talked about them being feisty and fun. It was really bad last week against the Chicago Bears.
He was. He's going to have those games because he's an aggressive player with decent tools, but not elite tools. And then you're just going to throw some picks. He's also losing Eric McCoy, who's just been like obviously very helpful for an inexperienced quarterback group. He's got a biceps injury. He's on injured reserve. So that's going to be something else for them to navigate. The guards have both been really bad, and McCoy's been chipping in for both of those sides. And now you have backups kind of everywhere. So, and then your left tackle, who I really like, is also a rookie at the same time. So thankfully, Hassan Reddick is probably not going to play with an injury, but what is the plan for Vita Vea?
Fair question.
There is no plan. Well, even if you were, there's no plan.
At the same time, the Saints are projected for 21 and a quarter points, which is where the Steelers are at, where the Bears are at. More than the 49ers, the Panthers, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Giants, the Commanders, the Browns, and the Titans.
Yep.
It's pretty dang good.
Yeah, I think that's a Kellen Moore stat, and that's like the feistiness of the Spencer Rattler, big plays with Olave and Rashid Shaheed. So I'm not completely writing them off. It's of note, you get Todd Bowles, and you're missing your starting center, and you got Vita Vea. So it's just all coming in at once here. But yeah, Rattler can have a couple big plays against the secondary. That would not surprise me.
CJ Stroud is your quarterback 17. Because they played in prime time, it has been a week of CJ Stroud conversations out there. You and I have them every week.
Yeah.
I think it's obvious that he's anticipating pressure more often than he has in the past. Now, the 49ers, though, are down their best pressure people. Obviously, we know about Nick Bosa, but Bryce Huff is a major part of that.
Yep.
I mean, was someone with the Jets who was a great third down player. And for this team, he's played like 30, 35, 40% of the snaps, if not more than that. And then he's their get off the field guy, and he's not playing in this one. So I guess my question is, can CJ Stroud be what Baker Mayfield and Matthew Stafford were to the San Francisco 49ers defense versus what we just saw with Michael Penix try to do versus 49ers defense?
Yeah, on top of that, Yetur Gross-Matos, another edge rusher, hasn't practiced. Diamador Lenore, their corner, quad injury, he hasn't practiced. So the 49ers are extremely banged up on defense. They have the most dollars on injured reserve in the NFL. It's not even close. And then a lot of the guys that we're mentioning here, including Ricky Pearsall, Brock Purdy on the other side of the ball, they're not even counting that because they're not on the reserve list. They're just not practicing on the active roster right now. So it's the most banged up team in the league. It's a good question on Stroud. The offensive line is in such disarray, and then their outside receivers right now. I mean, Hutchinson and Higgins, it's been a problem. They've even stick Braxton Berrios on the outside too. So it's bad on bad. So could CJ Stroud make enough plays? We've talked about he's regressed on tape recently. And there's reasons for that, but at the same time, like at some point, criticism belongs to CJ Stroud as well.
And you get Robert Saleh here, who is getting his unit amped up every single time.
Yep.
And he's facing off against D'Amico Ryans, who, used to be a part of this coaching tree, I guess still is at the same time. This is one, again, so much connective tissue here that like you're going to kind of feel the tension through the television from these coaches, especially on the Texans end. Like kind of feels like Ryan, I'm not saying he should get fired at all, but he's kind of losing the plot a little bit, I would say.
Yes.
For this Texans team. You can blame some of on Nick Caserio and bringing in the right pieces and not figuring out the offensive line. But then, D'Amico Ryans makes the hire of Bobby Slowick from this tree, and then it works out, and then it doesn't. And then despite making the playoffs, you fire him, and then you bring in Nick Caley, which has not worked out so far.
Yeah.
And so surely D'Amico Ryans, who's not calling the defense series in, series out, feels like some pressure and has to get this right at some point.
I also think they're very conservative in terms of just fourth down decisions and that type of stuff too. So yeah, you usually don't get a third crack at offensive coordinator. So they need to step up that side of the ball.
Mac Jones on the opposite end. Again, the Texans aren't getting it going with their starting quarterback. Kyle Shanahan's getting it going with his backup quarterback to the tune of what, like his sixth start of the season, I think at this point. It's close to it. I will say, though, I'm quite nervous about Mac Jones handling the Texans' pressure looks because the Texans are great on defense, specifically, it's the Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson-ness of it all on the outside. And so we'll see if big-time Mac can stand in there. Yeah, because the Texans have allowed just 8.6 passing points per game, the fewest in the NFL so far this season.
Man, that's crazy. I think Mac Jones is going to be without his center as well. So that's just another added wrinkle. I think they're going to get Kittle going in this one. And I thought that on tape on the crossing routes, I thought he was moving just fine. Didn't notice him with a limp or anything. Just was not involved in the game plan. I think that'll change in this one. And then Juwan Jennings at least fully practicing, and he's either been in DNPs or limited. He's fully practicing. So maybe there's a little bit of a resurgence there. Mac Jones, I believe, is yards per game wise number one quarterback this year. But he also has to do that because he's not going to run at all. So maybe you could do worse for Mac Jones. I view all these guys pretty similarly, from Jaxson Dart down to Mac Jones, and we'll get to Penix and Dalton's. They're fine.
Two questions. First one, does Azeez Al-Shaair make it through this entire game without getting kicked out?
And I think also for Mac Jones, could he survive the body slam?
Inevitable slide hit?
Yes. It's a fair question.
Yeah, because that's his former team too,
Yeah.
Second question. I don't get that much time to consume tons of content out there, but some programs I have listened to have suggested that if Mac Jones continues to win, when Brock Purdy comes back, they are just going to stick with Mac Jones as the quarterback and have him as the quarterback of the future. To me, Hayden, that is ridiculous. And I appreciate Mac Jones for what he is, but I don't think we are living in a world where Brock Purdy is going to lose his job to this style of an offense at this point. He's outplayed that to this point.
Yeah. I would say Mac Jones has allowed Brock Purdy to take the time it takes to heal from that injury properly so they can potentially go on a postseason run. So it's been a cool story. Also with Mac Jones, he's under contract next year as well. It's they're in
the red. It's guaranteed money into next year too. So he's not one of these quarterbacks that can just go somewhere else for a starting job. They would have to actually get something in return in a trade.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
Yeah. They're in a good spot because Mac Jones is perfect for the scheme. I think Mac Jones is totally fine. The 30th best quarterback in the NFL at this point. And in this offense, that's good enough to move the football. And that's even without Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk. So, which maybe you'll get those guys back eventually. So yeah, cool story. But Brock Purdy, just watch the two, when you see Mac Jones throwing off edge rushers and scrambling for a first down.
Right. And I wouldn't even watch the last Brock Purdy start that he played because he was obviously dealing with
just
an
watch
injury.
last year.
Watch last year. And with the Mac Jones 2-year contract, which actually had void years onto it too, they probably learned from the Sam Darnold thing of, okay, we should probably add on multiple years of this rather than just a one and done that you can go somewhere else and be the starter.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Sorry, I just want to throw that out there. Michael Penix is questionable for this game, but here he sits as your quarterback 19. He has a knee injury. It's a bone bruise, correct?
Yeah, they're calling it a bone bruise, which is sometimes associated with PCLs and whatever. It just depends on the severity of it. Bone bruise it's not like the bruise that you think you have on your muscle. Like a bone bruise is like a micro fracture. So it really just depends on how bad it is and how risky they want to be. So I think he's a true 50-50 to play. And I don't think that he will be moving around as well. And Michael Penix doesn't move around already. And I see him kind of fading away when he's about to get hit as well. So I'm a little bit nervous about Michael Penix in general. I would not be surprised if it's Kirk Cousins. This is where Michael Penix has been in fantasy. He just, you got to hit on his downfield shots to matter. And that's been a roller coaster ride so far.
Now, the Falcons are projected for 26 points.
Yes.
Miami has allowed the most plays of 15 plus yards in the league so far this year. The other part of this, though, is that the Falcons, according to Rich Bar, have a 47.3% drop back rate while playing with the lead, which is 26th in the NFL. So they'll just run the ball if they're up by 10 points.
Yeah. I'm expecting that. The Bijan totals are wild right now.
And the Bijan can hit those, and we might see Tyler Algier for the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah, this is all true. Limited, by the way, Penix limited in all 3 practices, officially questionable. This thing could go either way.
Andy Dalton, quarterback 20. The Bills actually pressure opposing quarterbacks at the second highest rate in the NFL. It might not feel like that when you watch because they don't have like that one standout guy, but they have, you know, Epinesa. They have Ed Oliver up the middle. Obviously, they brought in Joey Bosa this offseason. So that's a big test for Dalton if, you know, Josh Allen creates a large lead on the opposite end and then the pass rush can just tee off on, you know, a mid-30s quarterback here.
Can we get an update on the Panthers offensive line just in general? It's been in and out across the board. So
Damian Lewis is starting back at left guard, which is huge for them because Austin Corbett came in off the street and played left guard. So you have left tackle Icky, left guard Damian Lewis, center Cade Mays, right guard Brady Christensen, right tackle Taylor Moton. So it's basically back to a very, very much starting caliber offense.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
There it is. There's your Carolina Panthers minute. Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback 21 at the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not going to say I'm surprised he's this low because Tua has stunk. He's even lower in consensus rankings, by the way.
How?
He is quarterback 26 in consensus rankings. I guess to me, and I know he's thrown for less than 205 yards in 5 of 7 starts, but we're also talking about a dome here. And the Falcons, if you look at their passing totals, again, allowed a league low 155 passing yards per game with 180 yards or fewer in all 6 games. I just feel like at some point, though, this is all the Dolphins are going to be able to do. Yeah. If the Falcons put up this amount of points in them, they're just going to throw the football to Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane.
Okay, so let's think through this. If you are ranking him where he had 0 odds of getting benched, he would be what by Rattler, Stroud, up a couple spots. What do you put the odds that he is benched halfway through the game? 10%? 20%? So that's
I would probably put it at 10% because I don't think it's going to be as miserable as it was last week against the Browns. That's bad weather on the road against a Browns defense. And while the Falcons are a very solid defense, as we've seen so far this year, kind of hit or miss. The run game, obviously, they can get torched at times. Just the elements are not going to impact Tua here. It's like a pristine element.
Yeah. It's a bounce back spot. I have like Waddle ranked higher than I have Tua because, and same thing with Achane, just because like those guys are getting the ball relentlessly, no matter who's at quarterback.
Did I come into the show wanting to advocate for Tua Tagovailoa? No, I just think quarterback 26 is kind of ridiculous for him. I mean, he's literally ranked behind Cam Ward in consensus rankings right now.
Yeah. I disagree with that, but barely disagree with it.
Barely, yeah. What I'm saying is I agree with you. I'm standing up for you. I'm advocating.
Good.
That's
good. I needed it.
Tyrod Taylor, Cincinnati Bengals. Anything you want to add with this one, even though just before we went live, Aaron Glenn said, I'm not telling you who the starting quarterback is because I don't want to tell you who the starting quarterback is.
Man, the Bengals are probably shaking in their boots. Who do we have to game plan for? Is it Fields or Tyrod? Oh, no. I mean, it is a good matchup for either quarterback, but you don't have Garrett Wilson. And then Breece Hall, Mason Taylor are on the injury report as well. Both quarterbacks on the injury report. It's a total mess. They're projected for 19 points. The eventual starter might rank ahead of a couple of these guys. There's a bench risk for both of them. It's a who's who at fantasy projections over there in New York City.
All right, Dillon Gabriel and Cam Ward close this thing out. Any thoughts on these two rookies? Dillon Gabriel needs to show a little bit of something here. I gotta say.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. My question to you. I will say this. Patriots, their run defense is so strong that, and I do think that the Patriots offense is good enough where you could just get crazy game script for the Browns. You can have 40 dropbacks for Dillon Gabriel, and at that point, he's going to be fine. We're talking about super flex here. Dillon Gabriel, Cam Ward, and I've got Brock Purdy injured, and I got Dillon Gabriel as my super flex option. So it's like Dillon Gabriel versus Juwan Jennings. Like
I
think
one of my super flexes, I had to start Carson Wentz on Thursday night.
It happens. It happens to the best of us. So the question is, everyone above this, super flex wise, their starts. I think Dillon Gabriel, Cam Ward.
Right. It's like them or Keon Coleman is what you're saying?
Like, would you rather play Harold Fannin or Dillon Gabriel?
Yeah, because you get Dillon Gabriel here against, again, a Patriots defense that has talent at all three levels.
Yes.
And then they're almost certainly going to force you into negative game script. So it's going to be very obvious, and his arm kind of dies down the field. I think it's a cap of 15 yards. Yeah. And then Cam Ward against Lou Anarumo's defense.
Right. I think this is like super flex, or, I mean, if you had a running back, I mean, if I don't have my running backs pulled up, but I do think Dillon Gabriel and Cam Ward versus a running back, I would probably go with a decent running back.
I mean, I don't want to remind you about the running back rankings, but if we get to like flex territory here, it's bad. Kenneth Gainwell is running back 34.
No. Better than that. Better than that.
Kyle Monangai, running back 31 in consensus rankings.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Woody Marks versus Cam Ward. It's like, all right, what are you doing there?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about tight ends here. The first tier have really separated themselves. Tyler Warren, George Kittle, Jake Ferguson, Tucker Kraft, Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert. I think I heard Steve Weish on NFL Daily mention that Tucker Kraft, when he talks to defense coordinators that play the Packers, he is their most feared offensive player on the Packers because he can turn a little into a lot. He's an absolute handful. You can't just match him up like other tight ends. And while he doesn't run, the same route tree as someone that we're talking about with Tyler Warren, in a different offense, he could. And he's just so much fun to watch on a weekly basis.
Completely agree. In my write-up, I just listed off the top 5 all-around best tight ends on tape only. I think it's McBride number 1. I would go Kittle 2, and I would go Kraft, Goddard, Warren. I think that's my order. So I think he's the 3rd best tight end in the league. Him versus Goddard, I think is pretty fascinating. But all these tight ends are projected in the 40s. The exception being Tyler Warren's at 57.5 receiving yards. The Travis Kelce stuff, there's no floor, but you're back to being projected for 30 points a game. And he gets Bobby Wagner and Luvu, who you've talked about a ton. And the Commanders have allowed 3 different tight ends to reach 15 half PPR points, which is difficult to do in this economy. So he's a good spot in general. And then Dallas Goedert, he just had 9 for 110 in a touchdown against the Giants just 2 weeks ago. And we don't know about AJ Brown. So I think like that's the top 6 for me. And then I think it's a tier down to the rest of the group.
I really hope George Kittle gets it going in the passing game. Like you and I think he could have an awesome rest of the season. He was incredibly effective in the run blocking department. I don't have any leagues that have my run blocking points per game though.
No, not many.
Okay. On the next tier, I think K. Dotton is actually a big talking point here.
Okay.
Because when they had to go into kind of YOLO passing the football, K. Dotton and Dalton Schultz are kind of 2 peas in a pod in a way that it's like check and release, working over the middle of the field, shorter outbreaking routes when the big time downfield progression things take off the coverage and they're open against linebackers and safeties.
I'll even say there's a little Jake Ferguson to this, like the Bucs are projected for a lot of points. I think K. Dotton is a totally fine to good tight end. They don't take him off the field. And he can catch the ball effectively. And whenever he is throwing the ball, he's a good receiver. So they're running out of options. Like K. Dotton, once you remove Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, he's been a top 5 to 10 fantasy tight end without question, dating back to last year. Then last week, season high, 8.6 expected points. And that was with both of those guys out as well. So I think he's a rock solid play.
Okay, last question. Right now you have Colson Loveland as tight end 13. While we've been doing the show, Cole Kmet has been ruled out for this game. Does that make you want to move Colson Loveland up? This is the real chance for a post by rookie bump here for our guy Colson Loveland. I mean, which by the way, the Bears have been seeing what Tyler Warren has done. They've been seeing what Oronde Gadsden's been doing. I'm not saying that like Oronde Gadsden should have been taken with a top 15 overall pick. But, I'm just pre-draft.
I got you.
Based on where opinions were. Colson Loveland has the talent to do something. This team just has so much other talent that they're kind of dealing with at this point that Loveland, to me, hasn't gotten a platform to shine yet, but this could be that platform.
Yeah, and a couple of guys ranked ahead of him. So I got Harold Fannin, so I'm still waiting on David Njoku news. Dalton Kincaid, don't know about his status with the oblique. And then Evan Ingram's been hit and miss as well. So I do think there's a chance by the end of the week, once we get final injury reports and everything, that I do move Colson Loveland up a little bit. I was already largely expecting him to miss. But like you said, there's an avenue for him to go crazy here. And just one data point that's somewhat relevant. Sam Laporta during his rookie season, from week 8 on, he was the tight end 4. You know, that's exactly what this offense is. Now, that was a Lions team that was better than this version of the Bears. But, like, would it be surprising if I'd said, hey, Colson Loveland from this point forward finishes the tight end 6? Like, that would not be that crazy. So it's now or never.
And if he performs well, then he can just overtake Cole Kmet as, like, the lone tight end.
Dunzo. Yep. Completely agree.
All right. There it is. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Really, really appreciate it. We'll be back on Sunday morning with the Start Sit Show. If you have any more questions in mind, be sure to join us. Then go play an underdog sometime this weekend. Up the Villa. We'll talk to y'all soon. See ya.